Hello class, today we will be talking about some pretty fascinating creatures that my friends at the Amphibian and Reptile Conservancy work with. They are the salamanders of the southern Appalachian Mountains. You may think you know salamanders, but I bet you will be amazed at what you will learn about this practically magical group of animals after this quick presentation. Now remember, if you're going to be answering the questions about this presentation, go ahead and open that up in a separate tab so you can answer the questions as we go through this presentation together. But pay attention because you won't want to miss a thing. Pause at any time if you want to spend more time on that slide, or you can even rewind if you want to hear the information again. Let's begin. Tucked away in the southeastern United States is a salamander scientist's dream, the southern Appalachian region. It's in the lower part of the Appalachian Mountains. Why is this region so special? Because it's the salamander capital of the world. It's known as a biodiversity hotspot and supports the highest salamander diversity of any region on Earth. What does this mean? Nowhere else on Earth can you find as many different kinds of salamanders in one place. Biodiversity hotspot. What's that? It's an area that contains a large variety of life and is also considered threatened with destruction. The term biodiversity hotspot specifically refers to 36 biologically rich areas around the world that have lost at least 70% of their original habitat. It's said that these hotspots are home to 60% of the world's land-dwelling life forms, but covers only 2.4% of the Earth's land surface area. Let's do an exercise to kind of put these numbers in perspective. Close your eyes and imagine your skin makes up all the land in the world. Your head, your face, your arms, your back, your legs, everything. Now open your eyes and look at the palms of your hands, the part that you rub together when you're washing them. Now imagine that you have to fit over half of the world's plants and animals onto those two palms. Crazy to think, right? That little space contains so much life. Nearly 50% of all plants and animals found in the southern Appalachian region are considered endemic, meaning they can't be found anywhere else on the planet. Many species of salamanders that live in the region are lungless, so they don't breathe like you or me, your dog or your cat, or even the birds flying outside. They breathe through their skin. The southern Appalachian Mountains are often cloaked in a layer of fog. The region's cool, wet climate provides an ideal environment to prevent the salamanders from drying out and not being able to breathe. In most southern Appalachian hardwood habitats, there is more salamander biomass than all other vertebrates combined. What does this mean? If you were to gather all the birds, mammals, reptiles, fish, and all other non-salamander amphibians into one pile, and then you put all the salamanders into another pile, the salamander pile would be heavier than the pile with all the other animals combined. That's pretty incredible, right? For such a tiny little creature. So it makes sense that salamanders play a very important role in their ecosystem. But why are salamanders so important? Salamanders are the forest leaf layer protectors. You see, all those leaves on the forest floor are holding lots of carbon, the stuff that is changing the climate when released in mass amounts into the atmosphere. Because there are so many salamanders, they're able to keep leaf-eating invertebrate populations down. If the salamanders were to leave, that leaf layer would be eaten up and the carbon would be released into the environment through, get this, bug farts. Yep. Salamanders are also important players in the food chain or food web. Not only do they eat lots of creatures, they are also prey and eaten by other predators, providing energy to other animals in the food web. Lastly, salamanders are pollution watchdogs. All amphibians, including salamanders, are called bioindicators. Due to their permeable skin, they are very sensitive to pollutants and drought. The size of a salamander population can reflect the health of the forest they live in. Okay, so this may seem gross to us humans, but eating one's dead skin is actually an easy, nutritious snack for animals that shed their skin as they grow. Salamanders may not have superpowers, but these adaptations are pretty close. As we mentioned earlier, many salamanders in this region do not have lungs or gills. These are called lungless salamanders. Instead, they breathe or exchange gases through their moist skin. If their skin dries out, the animal can no longer breathe and will suffocate. Another really cool adaptation is that they can regenerate limbs. Salamanders have the ability to grow back lost limbs, toes, and other body parts that may have been bitten off by a predator or from another competing salamander. This process is known as regeneration. Lastly, salamanders can hear with their shoulder blades. Everybody reach behind you and feel your shoulder blades. Could you imagine if you could hear with those things? Pretty strange, right? Salamanders have a different ear structure than other amphibians that allow them to, quote-unquote, hear through their shoulder blades. Pretty awesome, right? They're not really hearing sounds, but the vibrations the salamander feels with its feet. Some salamanders have tongues that are as long as 80% of their body length, attaching to their base or beginning of their tails. So could you imagine if your tongue was so long that instead of attaching to the back of your mouth, it went all the way down to your knees? So all in all, salamanders seem pretty cool, right? Unfortunately, they're having a hard time. Nearly 50% of all salamanders in the world are endangered or have gone extinct. Of the 81 salamander species that are threatened with extinction in the USA, 34 of them, or 42%, are in the southeast. Unfortunately, there are many reasons why salamanders are declining in the wild. There's habitat loss, invasive species, pollution, waterway modifications, declining insect populations, so they're prey items, road mortality or roadkill, exotic pet trade, and bad information. The good news is that you can help salamanders, even if you don't live in the southern Appalachian region. Many other salamanders suffer from the same threats as our friends in the southern Appalachian region. By telling others about how cool the salamanders are, remember, bad information is one of the reasons why they're declining, you can also help by keeping your local streams and waterways clean of plastic pollution, any kind of pollution really, and trash. So you could help these very important creatures by doing very simple, very easy things. Thanks everyone for joining me for this presentation. Remember, you can pause, rewind, go back, do whatever you need to answer your questions, and I hope you have fun with the remaining activities.